Hey there. Tonight we're going back, way back, to a time before Columbus, before the Aztecs, before even the Romans walked their famous roads. Yeah. We're traveling to ancient Ohio, around Ebite BCE, where you are about to discover why your people spend generations moving millions of baskets of earth to create massive geometric shapes that still confuse archaeologists today. You live in a world without metal tools, without the wheel, without written language. Yet your civilization will create earthen monuments so precise, so mathematically perfect, that future scholars will argue for centuries about how you did it and why. Some will say religion, others will say astronomy, a few will whisper about aliens. But you know the truth. You've lived it, you've bled for it. Tonight, you're not reading about the Hopewell culture in a textbook. You're not looking at aerial photographs of geometric earthworks. You're there, in the forests of Ohio, in the longhouses, in the council circles, and yes, in the brutal, forgotten wars that nobody teaches in school. The wars that made these earthworks necessary. So dim the lights, get comfortable. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is for you. Because tonight, you're walking in moccasins made of deer hide, and the smoke from cooking fires is already stinging your eyes. The basket weighs perhaps 20 pounds when filled with earth, and by mid-morning, you've already carried 30 loads up the sloping embankment. Your shoulders burn. Your lower back feels like someone has shoved a hot coal against your spine. But you don't stop. No one stops. The work is sacred, the elders say. But you understand it's also survival. The woman working beside you is called Quiet Reed, and she lost 2 sons in last year's raid. She never speaks anymore, just works, her face empty of everything except determination. Her baskets are always fuller than everyone else's. Her pace never slows. You try to match her, but your younger legs can't sustain her rhythm. By noon, the sun has burned off the fog, and you can see the river clearly. It looks peaceful, almost friendly, the water catching light like scattered copper beads. But 3 summers ago, war canoes came down that river at dawn, and 37 people died before the sun reached its peak. Your father was one of them. He died with a stone axe embedded in his chest. You were told, defending the longhouse entrance while your mother and sister hid in the root cellar. You didn't see it happen. You were helping gutfish at the river's edge with other children. You heard the screams, saw the smoke, and by the time you ran back, it was over. The raiders took food, copper, shells, and anything else they could carry. They left bodies. Since then, your people have worked on this earthwork every day that weather permits. The elders say the geometric shape channels power from the sky, that warriors attacking across sacred geometry will falter and weaken. You want to believe them. You need to believe them, because the alternative, that all this work is meaningless, that raiders will come again and kill more fathers, is too terrible to accept. The afternoon brings a visitor. You're resting in the shade of an elm tree, drinking water from a clay vessel. When you see him approach, he's a runner from the western settlements, identifiable by the tattoos on his arms, 3 parallel lines that mark him as a messenger. He speaks urgently with the elders, and though you're too far to hear the words, you can read the news in their faces. Bad. It's always bad when runners come. Within an hour, the village drum begins its deep, resonant call. The pattern is specific. 3 beats, pause, 3 beats, pause, 2 beats, meeting. All adults to the council circle. You're not quite adult, but your mother brings you anyway. Your father's death made you head of household, young as you are, and household heads have a right to hear news that affects the village. The council circle is a smaller earthwork, a perfect circle 40 paces across, with a central fire pit. Your people have been gathering here for generations. The earth beneath your feet is packed hard from centuries of footsteps. Smoke Runner the shaman stands in the center, wearing his ceremonial gorget, a shell collar that hangs on his chest. He's perhaps 50 winters old, his face scarred from some ancient illness, his eyes sharp and knowing. Beside him, the village chief Broken Bow stands with his arms crossed. He's old too, maybe 60, but his arms are still thick with muscle. The runner speaks, and his words fall on the assembly like stones into water. The northern clans have formed an alliance, 6 villages, maybe 400 warriors. They're moving south, taking what they want, killing those who resist. They've already destroyed 2 settlements. They're following the river. Your village is next, maybe 2 weeks away, maybe 3. The earthwork must be finished. There's no more time for careful work. Every moment counts now. That night, you can't sleep. The longhouse is silent except for breathing and the occasional crack of settling wood. You lie on your mat, staring at the smoke hole above, watching stars appear and disappear as clouds drift past. 400 warriors. Your village has perhaps 50 men of fighting age, and maybe 30 more boys old enough to hold a weapon. The mathematics are brutal and simple. Your mother senses your wakefulness. She reaches over and places her hand on your shoulder, saying nothing. Her touch is warm, familiar, and somehow makes everything worse because it reminds you what you'll lose when the warriors come. In the morning, the work pace changes. No more careful measurements and discussions about geometry. Now it's simply speed. Every person in the village who can lift a basket works from dawn until they collapse from exhaustion. Children as young as 6 winters carry small loads. Pregnant women tamp earth with stone tools. Even the elders, those too old to walk far, sit at the digging sites and scrape soil into baskets with their hands. The earthwork grows visibly. You can see it rise, inch by inch, as if the earth itself is responding to your people's desperation. By the 3rd day of this frantic work, your hands are bleeding. Blisters have formed and burst and formed again. Everyone's hands look the same. Draw, red, wrapped in strips of leather where the pain becomes unbearable. Quirtreed collapses on the 4th day. She simply stops mid-step, drops her basket, and falls forward onto her face. 2 men carry her to the longhouse. The shaman tends to her, but everyone knows she'll be back tomorrow. She always comes back. The earthwork is now nearly complete. The embankment stands 2 men tall in most places, with the ditch inside creating an additional barrier. The 4 openings remain, aligned with sky markers only. Smoke Runner understands. The scouts return on the 8th day. They slip into the village like shadows. 3 men who left at dawn 2 days ago. You're hauling water from the river when you see them, and your stomach drops. Their faces tell you everything before they speak. The Northern Alliance is close, maybe 3 days' travel, moving slowly because of their numbers. 400 warriors as reported, but worse. They have allies from the eastern valleys adding another 100, 500. They've been destroying everything in their path, taking captives, burning longhouses, desecrating burial mounds. The pattern is clear. They mean to erase your people entirely, to claim this river valley as their own. That night, Broken Bow makes a decision that splits the village. He announces that the women, children, and elders will evacuate. They'll go south to the trading post where the great river bends, where other Hopewell villages might offer shelter. The fighting men will stay. They'll defend the earthwork as long as possible, giving the others time to escape. Your mother immediately refuses to leave you. You're not a fighter, she says. You're 12. You have no training with anything but a sling. But Broken Bow's words are iron. Every male over 10 winters stays. It's not about skill. It's about numbers. 500 warriors attacking 50 defenders need to see more than 50 defenders, even if half are boys with slings and stone knives. Your mother weeps. and you've never seen her weep, not even when your father died. Your sister clings to your leg, not understanding why everyone is suddenly so afraid. You kneel and hold her, trying to memorize her smell, the way her hair feels, the sound of her breathing. Tomorrow she'll leave with the others. Tomorrow you become a defender of the earthwork. Tomorrow you might die. Dawn arrives gray and cold. The women and children gather at the southern edge of the village, carrying what they can: food, blankets, tools. The youngest children don't understand why they're leaving. They think it's an adventure. The older ones know better. They look back at the village with haunted eyes. Your sister won't let go of your mother's hand. She keeps turning to look at you, her face confused and scared. You wave to her, trying to smile, and the effort feels like it might crack your face. They leave in a long, silent column, perhaps 200 people, guarded by 10 older men who are too frail to fight, but can still walk. You watch until they disappear into the forest. Then it's just you and the fighters. Broken Bow gathers everyone at the earthwork. 53 men stand in a rough circle. 17 boys, including you, stand in a separate group. The chief speaks plainly. The earthwork gives them an advantage. Enemies must cross the outer embankment, jump down into the ditch, then climb the inner wall, all while defenders throw spears and rocks from above. The 4 openings will be defended by the best warriors. The boys will be stationed along the walls between the openings, armed with slings and piles of river stones. Your job is simple: throw rocks until you can't lift your arm, then pick up a club and fight anything that reaches the top. Smoke Runner performs it. He walks the entire circumference of the earthwork, singing in the old language, touching the earth with his staff. He says the geometric pattern is activated. Now that the spirits will recognize the sacred shape and lend strength to those who defend it. You want to believe him. You notice he's wearing war paint and carrying a stone axe alongside his ceremonial staff. Even shamans will fight today. They come at mid-morning on the second day. You see them first as movement in the trees across the river, shadows that resolve into shapes, then shapes that become men. So many men, they flow out of the forest, like floodwater, spreading along the far bank. You've never seen so many people in one place. They don't try to hide. Why would they? They have numbers, they have weapons, they have certainty. Your hand grips the sling until the leather bites into your palm. The wound reopens. You don't notice. The enemy warriors gather across the river, just standing there, letting you count them, letting the fear sink in. They wear different styles of clothing, different clans, different traditions, united in purpose. Some have elaborate tattoos covering their chests and arms. Others wear necklaces of bear claws and human teeth. A few carry shields made of woven reeds and hide. Most are bare-chested despite the cold, their bodies marked with war paint, red, black, white. They begin to chant, a low rhythmic sound that carries across the water. The sound grows, becomes almost physical, pressing against your chest. Beside you, a boy named Quick Squirrel starts to shake. He's 9 winters old, someone's younger brother. He shouldn't be here, but here he is, armed with a sling and trying not to cry. You reach over and grip his shoulder, the way you've seen warriors do. He looks at you and you nod once. His shaking lessens slightly. Smoke Runner stands at the eastern opening of the earthwork, facing the enemy. He raises his staff and begins his own chant, matching their rhythm, but in your language, your traditions. His voice is surprisingly strong for an old man. The defenders join in, and suddenly 70 voices are singing against 500. It's not enough. It's never enough. But it's something. The first wave crosses the river at 3 points simultaneously. They don't use canoes. They simply wade through the cold water, holding weapons above their heads, moving with practiced efficiency. The current is strong, and you see two warriors lose their footing and get swept downstream, but the others keep coming. Water streams from their bodies as they emerge on your bank. They don't charge immediately. They form up, hundreds of men in a loose semicircle, facing the earthwork, and the chanting continues. Then someone blows a horn made from a conch shell. The note is long, deep, wrong. It makes your bones hurt. They charge. The sound of 500 men screaming as they run is something you'll never forget, assuming you live long enough to remember. It's not like war cries and stories. It's chaos. Individual voices merging into something inhuman. They hit the outer embankment in a wave. The slope slows them slightly, but they're strong men, warriors in their prime, and they scramble up the earth like spiders. The defender's first volley of spears takes down perhaps 10 out of 500. You fit a stone into your sling, whirl it overhead the way you've practiced on rabbits and turkeys, and release. The stone flies true, catches a warrior in the shoulder. He stumbles but doesn't fall. Your second stone misses entirely. Your third hits another man in the chest. He goes down. You've just killed a man. The thought processes slowly, like winter sap. You've killed a man. There's no time to absorb this. You load another stone. Beside you, Quick Squirrel's first throw goes wild, and he's crying and trying to reload. All along the earthwork wall, stones rain down on the attackers. It's not enough. They keep coming. The first warrior crests the outer embankment and leaps into the ditch. They come at mid-morning on the second day. You see them first as movement in the trees across the river, shadows that resolve into shapes, then shapes that become men. So many men. They flow out of the forest like floodwater, spreading along the far bank. You've never seen so many people in one place. They don't try to hide. Why would they? They have numbers. They have weapons. They have certainty. Your hand grips the sling until the leather bites into your palm. The wound reopens. You don't notice. The enemy warriors gather across the river, just standing there, letting you count them, letting the fear sink in. They wear different styles of clothing, different clans, different traditions, united in purpose. Some have elaborate tattoos covering their chests and arms. Others wear necklaces of bear claws and human teeth. A few carry shields made of woven reeds and hide. Most are bare-chested despite the cold, their bodies marked with war paint, red, black, white. They begin to chant, a low rhythmic sound that carries across the water. So the sound grows, becomes almost physical, pressing against your chest. Beside you, a boy named Quick Squirrel starts to shake. He's 9 winters old, someone's younger brother. He shouldn't be here, but here he is, armed with a sling and trying not to cry. You reach over and grip his shoulder, the way you've seen warriors do. He looks at you and you nod once. His shaking lessens slightly. Smoke Runner stands at the eastern opening of the earthwork, facing the enemy. He raises his staff and begins his own chant, matching their rhythm, right, but in your language, your traditions. His voice is surprisingly strong for an old man. The defenders join in, and suddenly 70 voices are singing against 500. It's not enough. It's never enough. But it's something. The first wave crosses the river at 3 points simultaneously. They don't use canoes. They simply wade through the cold water, holding weapons above their heads, moving with practiced efficiency. The current is strong, and you see 2 warriors lose their footing and get swept downstream. But the others keep coming. Water streams from their bodies as they emerge on your bank. They don't charge immediately. They form up, hundreds of men in a loose semicircle, facing the earthwork. And the chanting continues. Then someone blows a horn made from a conch shell. The note is long, deep, wrong. It makes your bones hurt. They charge. The sound of 500 men screaming as they run is something you'll never forget, assuming you live long enough to remember. It's not like war cries and stories, it's chaos. individual voices merging into something inhuman. They hit the outer embankment in a wave. The slope slows them slightly, but they're strong men, warriors in their prime, and they scramble up the earth like spiders. The defender's first volley of spears takes down perhaps 10 out of 500. You fit a stone into your sling, whirl it overhead the way you've practiced on rabbits and turkeys, and release. The stone flies true, catches a warrior in the shoulder. He stumbles but doesn't fall. Your second stone misses entirely. Your third hits another man in the chest. He goes down. You've just killed a man. The thought processes slowly, like winter sap. You've killed a man. There's no time to absorb this. You load another stone. Beside you, Quick Squirrel's first throw goes wild, and he's crying and trying to reload. All along the earthwork wall, stones rain down on the attackers. It's not enough. They keep coming. The first warrior crests the outer embankment and leaps into the ditch. The ditch fills with warriors faster than you can track. They're supposed to struggle climbing the inner wall. But these men are experienced fighters. They boost each other up, form human ladders, throw ropes with hooks. The first one reaches the top of the inner wall, near the northern opening. Red Clay, a warrior from your village, meets him with a stone axe. The fight is brief and brutal. Red Clay wins, but the enemy warrior's body tumbles backward into the ditch, and 3 more warriors are already climbing to replace him. This pattern repeats at every point along the earthwork. The 17 boys with slings are now throwing as fast as they can load, and your arm is starting to burn. You've stopped counting kills, maybe 5, maybe 7, maybe none. Maybe you just wounded them, it doesn't matter. They keep coming. Quick Squirrel has stopped crying and is throwing with mechanical precision. His face empty, his childhood gone. An enemy warrior crests the wall right in front of you, and you don't have time to reload your sling. You drop it and grab your stone knife, barely more than a sharp rock with leather wrapped around one end. He's bigger than you, covered in tattoos, holding a club with stone blades embedded in its edge. He looks at you, this boy with a knife, and something like pity crosses his face before he swings the club. The battle has been going for less than an hour, but it feels like days. Your arms are numb from throwing stones and swinging the knife. Quick Squirrel is gone. You saw him disappear under 3 warriors who crested the wall together. One of them died with Squirrel's knife in his leg. But it wasn't enough. The enemy is starting to hold positions on the inner wall, not just climb and get pushed back. This is how you lose. 1 foothold at a time. Broken Bow is fighting at the eastern opening, his gray hair wild, his copper axe rising and falling. He's killed at least a dozen, but even he is slowing. Smoke Runner is still chanting, still singing, even as he crushes an enemy's skull with his staff. The shaman's ceremonial gorget is cracked and bloody. Near you, a boy named Tall Birch takes a spear in his chest. He doesn't scream, just looks surprised, touches the shaft sticking out of his body, and sits down slowly. Then he falls sideways. The warrior who threw the spear is already climbing toward you. You're out of stones. Your knife is somewhere in the ditch, still stuck in the neck of the warrior you killed. You pick up Tall Birch's club. He won't need it, and wait. The club is heavier than you expected, made from oak with sharp stones lashed to its head. The warrior reaches the top, pulls himself over. He's younger than most, maybe 20 winters, and his face is twisted with effort and fear. He sees you, sees the club, sees that you're just a boy covered in blood. He hesitates. You swing with everything you have. The club catches him in the side of the head. The sound is wet and terrible. He drops without a sound. You don't watch him fall. Another is already climbing behind. By noon, the earthwork is lost. Enemies have established permanent positions on 3 sections of the inner wall, and your defenders are being pushed back toward the village. 31 of your people are dead. Maybe more. You've stopped counting. The boy defenders are down to 5, you and 4 others whose names you suddenly can't remember. You're all covered in blood and dirt and worse things. Broken Bow calls a retreat. His voice carries over the sounds of combat, strong and clear. To the longhouses, form the second line. The surviving defenders disengage and run for the village. The enemy lets you go, pausing to secure the earthwork completely. They plant spears in the ground, markers claiming the sacred geometry as their own. You watch this happen as you run, and something breaks inside you. All that work, all those bleeding hands, all those days of hauling baskets for nothing. The earthwork fell in one morning. The second defensive line forms between the longhouses. 22 defenders, now, and 5 boys. Against 400 enemy warriors. They've lost perhaps 100, but the numbers still make victory impossible. Smoke Runner's ceremonial clothing is torn and bloodied, but he's still alive, still holding his staff. The geometry still works, he says to you directly, grabbing your shoulder. His eyes are wild. The spirits saw our defense. They know we honored the sacred pattern. This matters. This matters. You don't argue with him. Maybe he's right. Maybe the earthwork's purpose was never military. Maybe it was always spiritual, and your people just defended it long enough to prove their devotion. Or maybe it was just a pile of dirt that killed 31 people for nothing. You grip your club. You're on your 4th weapon now, and wait for the final assault. They don't attack immediately. The enemy warriors spread out around the village, surrounding it completely, and then they wait. An hour passes. The sun moves across the sky. Your legs start to shake from standing still. After so much violence, a warrior from the Northern Alliance walks forward alone. He's old, maybe 50 winters, with a magnificent headdress of eagle feathers. He carries no weapons, only a talking stick carved with symbols. He speaks in a language similar to yours, but with different sounds. Broken Bow steps forward to meet him. You can't hear the conversation, but you can read the body language. The Northern Chief makes an offer. Broken Bow shakes his head. The Northern Chief gestures at the earthwork, at the village, at the surrounding warriors. His meaning is clear. You've already lost. Broken Bow points at the ground beneath their feet, then at the sky. The Northern Chief laughs, not cruelly, but as if Broken Bow has said something absurd. The negotiation ends. The Northern Chief walks back to his warriors. Broken Bow returns to the defensive line. They offer mercy, he says quietly. Surrender now, swear allegiance to their alliance. Give them food and copper, and half our young women. They'll let the rest of us live as tributaries. Nobody speaks. Finally, Smoke Runner breaks the silence. This is Hopewell land. Our ancestors walked this earth. Their bones feed these trees. The geometric patterns we build channel power from the ancient ones. We don't surrender geometry. We don't surrender ancestors. Broken Bow nods. He raises his voice so all can hear. We die free. The words settle over the defenders like a blanket. You should feel afraid. Instead, you feel almost calm. The uncertainty is over. The waiting is done. You will die today, but you will die defending something. The earthwork didn't save you, but maybe that was never the point. The final assault comes with the setting sun. The enemy warriors advance slowly, deliberately, in a tightening circle. There's no charging this time, no war cries. They've learned respect for your defenders. They come cautiously, shields raised, spreading out to attack from every angle simultaneously. The first exchange happens near the northern edge of the village. 4 enemy warriors against 2 defenders. The defenders kill one, wound another, then both go down under stone axes. The pattern repeats at every point. Your people are too few, too exhausted, and the enemy has learned not to rush. 3 warriors attack your position. An older defender named Grey Wolf stands beside you. He's maybe 40 winters, with scars covering his arms. He takes on 2 warriors while you face the 3rd. Your enemy is young, maybe 18, with fresh war paint and a spear. He doesn't underestimate you. Despite your age, he saw what happened at the earthwork. He thrusts the spear at your chest. You sidestep and swing the club, but he's already pulling back, staying out of range. He's fighting smart, keeping his reach advantage. He feints high, then sweeps the spear low, aiming for your legs. You jump, barely clearing the shaft, and he's already reversing the sweep, bringing the stone point up toward your stomach. It catches you along the ribs, not deep, but you feel it tear skin, feel blood start flowing. The pain is sharp and bright. You stumble back. He advances. Behind you, Grey Wolf screams. You can't look. You can't take your eyes off the spear. The warrior thrusts again. This time, instead of dodging away, you step inside his reach, taking the shaft against your shoulder, getting close where his spear is useless. You bring the club up under his chin. His head snaps back. He drops. You drop too, sitting down hard, your hand going to the wound in your side. The pain in your side is white-hot and growing. You try to stand, but your legs won't cooperate. Around you, the sounds of combat are becoming sparse. Fewer clashing weapons. More silence. The silence is worse than the noise. Ed, you didn't see it happen, but he's on the ground nearby, not moving. A spear through his back. All across the village, your defenders are falling. You watch Broken Bow take down 2 more warriors before a 3rd one buries an axe in his shoulder. The old chief staggers but doesn't fall. He kills his attacker, the axe still embedded in his flesh, then finally goes down on one knee. 3 enemy warriors surround him. He's still fighting when they finally end it. Smoke Runner is the last adult stand. The shaman has dropped his staff and is wielding a stone axe in each hand, spinning and striking like a much younger man. He's singing the death song, the one sung by warriors who know they won't see tomorrow. 5 enemy warriors attack him together. He takes 3 of them with him before he falls. Now it's just you and 2 other boys. 3 children in a village full of dead. The enemy warriors see this. They stop attacking. Instead, they form a circle around you, weapons ready but held still. The northern chief approaches again, stepping carefully over bodies. He looks at you. A boy covered in blood, sitting on the ground with a wound in your side, clutching a club made from a friend's weapon. He says something in his language. You don't understand the words, but the tone is clear. Enough. You've proven your courage. Surrender. You look at the club in your hand, then at Broken Bow's body, then at the earthwork in the distance, that perfect geometric circle that was supposed to save you. You shake your head no. An enemy warrior steps forward to finish you. The northern chief raises his hand, stopping him. The chief speaks again, and this time someone translates. He says your courage honors your people. He says you defended the sacred earth like a man. He offers you life one final time. You look at the translator, a man from your own region who must have joined the alliance. Tell him, you say, and your voice sounds strange, distant. Tell him the earthwork is still ours. The geometry belongs to the spirits. He can stand on it, but he can never own it. The translator relays this. The northern chief is silent for a moment, then nods slowly. He says something else. The translator's face changes. He says you may keep your weapon. When you meet your ancestors tonight, you'll tell them you died with a club in your hand. This is the highest honor an enemy can offer. You understand that? The warrior who was approaching backs away. The chief himself draws his knife, a beautiful blade of traded copper, worth more than your entire village. He kneels in front of you. This too is honor. Enemies of equal courage die facing each other, eye to eye. You grip your club tighter, even though you can barely lift it. The chief speaks directly to you, and somehow you understand the meaning, if not the words. He's saying you fought well. He's saying your people fought well. He's saying the earthwork will stand as a memorial to your courage. Then he moves, fast. The knife enters your chest below the ribs, angled upward toward your heart. The pain is enormous for one bright moment, then fades into cold. You're lying on your back now, though you don't remember falling. The sky above is purple and orange, beautiful. Your mother and sister are safe. You held the line long enough. This thought brings peace. Your spirit rises from your body. Or so the shamans always said would happen. You float above the battlefield, above your own corpse with its club, still gripped in small, bloody fingers. You see the enemy warriors, standing in respectful silence around your body. You see the northern chief say a prayer over you, his own ritual for fallen enemies. You see them do the same for the other two boys who died moments after you. Then your vision expands, pulling back, rising higher. You see the entire village now. The longhouse is burning, the bodies, the earthwork standing perfect and geometrically precise in the failing light. The enemy claims it but doesn't destroy it. They recognize its power, even if they don't fully understand it. You rise higher still. You see the forest, the river, the other villages scattered across the valley. You see your mother and sister with the evacuation group, now 2 days south, safe. They'll hear what happened here. They'll mourn, but they'll live. Your vision continues upward. Now you can see the entire Ohio Valley, dotted with earthworks. Circles, squares, octagons, geometric patterns your people have been building for generations. Some are new like yours, others are ancient, built by ancestors whose names are forgotten. They form a network, these earthworks, connected by sight lines and astronomical alignments that only shamans understand. From this height, you finally understand what Smoke Runner tried to tell you. The earthworks were never about stopping armies. One geometric shape can't defeat 500 warriors. But geometric shapes can preserve something more important than life. They preserve identity, memory, meaning. Long after your people's bones have turned to dust, these earthworks will remain, speaking in the language of geometry about a civilization that loved patterns, that saw sacred order in circles and squares, that thought the earth itself could be shaped into prayers. You see forward in time, hundreds of years, and the earthworks are still there, mysterious and perfect. But you are not dead, not yet. The vision fades, and you're back in your body on the cold ground, the copper knife still in your chest. You're dying, this is certain, but death is slower than expected. Minutes pass. The northern chief has moved on to oversee the village occupation. Warriors are going through longhouses, gathering anything valuable, starting fires to burn the rest. The pain has mostly faded, replaced by cold spreading from your core outward. Your fingers have gone numb. You can no longer feel the club, but you're still conscious. Still seeing. You turn your head slightly. Movement that costs enormous effort. The earthwork is visible from where you lie, its geometric perfection intact. Despite the battle fought there, bodies dot its walls, your people and theirs mixed together now in death. As darkness creeps into your vision's edges, you see something strange. Lights appear above the earthwork. Small flickering lights like fireflies, but it's the wrong season for fireflies. They dance in patterns, tracing the circle's circumference, then spiraling upward. More lights appear, hundreds, thousands, and they begin to form shapes, geometric shapes. Circles within circles, squares, octagons, all made of light hovering above the earthwork like ghostly blueprints. The enemy warriors don't see them, they continue their work, oblivious. But you see, Smoke Runner's spirit is there, you realize, and broken bows. And your father's, dead 3 summers ago, and countless others, all the way back to the first Hopewell people who built the first earthwork. They're all there, manifested as light and geometry, bearing witness. The earthwork was always a doorway. You understand now, not a defensive structure. A doorway between the physical and the spiritual, between earth and sky, between the living and the ancestors. Your people built doors. And now you're walking through one. Your final breath leaves your body as true. Darkness arrives. The stars appear above. And in your dying vision, they too form geometric patterns, connecting with lines only you can see. Everything is geometry. The cosmos is mathematics made manifest. The Hopewell people understood this, encoded it in Earth, and now you carry that understanding into death. Your body lies in the village for 3 days. The enemy buries your people with respect, unusual for warfare, but your courage earned it. They place your body inside the earthwork, near the center, with your club beside you and copper beads scattered around your head. The northern chief orders this personally. 43 defenders receive the same honor. The earthwork becomes a mass grave, but also a monument. The Alliance moves on after burning the village. They leave sentries for 1 season, then abandon the site entirely. The earthwork remains. Winter comes. Snow covers the geometric pattern, making it disappear into the landscape. Spring reveals it again. Grass grows on the embankment. Wildflowers bloom in the ditch. Years pass. Your mother and sister never return. They rebuild lives in the southern settlements, though your mother speaks your name every day until she dies. 30 winters later, your sister has children. They have children. Your bloodline continues, carrying stories of the brave boy who defended the earthwork. The stories change over generations, becoming legend, becoming myth. Eventually, even the myths fade. But the earthwork remains. Other people come to the valley, different tribes, different languages. They see the earthwork and know it's sacred. They don't know who built it or why, but they respect it. So, they build their own earthworks nearby, copying the geometry. The pattern spreads. More circles, more squares, more geometric shapes across the Ohio Valley. A civilization in Earth, speaking a mathematical language that transcends words. Your people become ancestors, and the ancestors become geometry. Centuries pass. The earthwork endures through periods of use and abandonment. Around Arbeck CE, a new generation of Hopewell people rediscovers the site. They find your bones, now just fragments, mixed with the earth. They don't know whose bones they are, but they recognize the copper beads, the style of burial. Ancestors, they say. They perform ceremonies, leave offerings. They repair the earthwork's embankment where erosion has damaged it, maintaining the geometric precision. They build new earthworks nearby, larger and more complex. Octagons connecting to circles, squares aligned with astronomical events. The network grows. During this period, the earthwork serves as a gathering place. Every summer solstice, people come from across the valley to celebrate inside its circular embrace. They dance, trade, share stories. The geometry creates a sense of shared identity. Different villages, different dialects, but all Hopewell, all builders of earthworks. All children of the ancestors who worked with stone and basket to reshape the land. The earthwork you defended becomes part of a larger sacred landscape, Newark Earthworks, though that name won't exist for another 1,000 years. Multiple geometric shapes connected by raised earthen pathways. The largest earthwork complex in Ohio, archaeological surveys in the distant future will measure it in acres, will marvel at the precision, will debate its purpose endlessly. But in your time, in this century after your death, its purpose is clear to those who use it. It's a temple, a meeting place, a marker of territory, a connection to ancestors, and a declaration that humans can impose order on chaos. It's where earth meets sky, where living meets dead, where geometry becomes sacred. The earthwork is maintained carefully for 300 years. Then, around Ubak CE, the Hopewell culture begins to collapse. Not from war this time, from something slower: climate change, resource depletion, political fragmentation. The earthworks fall silent. By Ligbite CE, the earthwork is abandoned. The people who maintained it are gone. Not destroyed, but dispersed. The Hopewell culture didn't end in apocalypse. It simply evolved into something else, scattered into smaller groups with different traditions. The earthwork stands empty. Forest reclaims the village site. Trees grow on the longhouse foundations. The embankment holds its shape, but vegetation obscures its purpose. A wolf den occupies the central area where your bones lie. For centuries, only animals used the earthwork. Deer bed down in the ditch. Birds nest in the embankment's grass. The geometry persists, but without human recognition. The earthwork becomes natural landscape, a circular hill with a depression at its center, its artificiality forgotten. New peoples come to the valley. The Fort Ancient culture, the Erie, the Shawnee. They see the earthworks but don't know their origin. The geometric shapes are too old, too weathered. Stories don't reach back that far. Some new peoples think the earthworks are natural features. Others recognize human construction but attribute it to spirits or giants or ancient races now extinct. The truth: that your people built these monuments with baskets and stone tools, with bleeding hands and geometric knowledge, is lost. Around Ichenabek CE, a Shawnee hunting party camps near the earthwork. One hunter, exploring, finds copper beads eroding from the embankment. He recognizes them as very old, made by the ancient ones. He carefully reburies them with tobacco as offering. He tells his children that night about the people who lived here before. His story is inaccurate. He imagines giants and magic, but it preserves the essential truth. This place is sacred because humans made it so. The earthwork's geometry continues its silent declaration. Invisible from ground level, clear from the sky, future generations with flying machines will photograph it, measure it, debate it. But in this medieval moment, it simply exists, patient and geometric. The earthwork survives the medieval period, the arrival of Europeans, the chaos of colonization. Each era brings new interpretations. Early European settlers in the Etienne-Chipites see the earthworks and refuse to believe Native Americans built them. The geometric precision is too sophisticated, they claim. They attribute the structures to Vikings, or lost tribes of Israel, or even ancient Romans. Anything but the native peoples they're displacing. This denial is convenient. Easier to take land from savages than from descendants of sophisticated builders. Surveyors mapped the earthworks in the early Chenbabites, creating the first technical drawings. Their measurements reveal the mathematical precision, perfect circles, exact alignments. Archaeological interest grows. Some earthworks are excavated. Your burial, shallow in the embankment, is disturbed. The bones are removed, studied, catalogued as specimen. Sishati, adolescent male, cause of death, penetrating trauma to chest. Your copper beads end up in a museum drawer. The club beside your skeleton is carbon dated to Arbeck BCE, confirming Hopewell origin. But your name, your story, your desperate defense, all lost. You become data. The earthwork itself survives better than most. The property passes through various owners. Some farmers respect it, plowing around it. Others see it as waste space and level portions. By each Jobite, half the embankment is destroyed. Development threatens the rest. Then, in the mid-East Jobites, archaeologists fight to preserve what remains. The site gains protected status, not for its military history, that's forgotten, but for its astronomical alignments and geometric precision. Tourists visit, walking the remaining embankment, photographing the perfect arc. Information signs explain Hopewell culture in clinical terms. Flourished Ebite BCE to Ubak CE. Built extensive earthwork complexes. Purpose unknown, likely ceremonial, purpose unknown. You almost laugh, your spirit watching from wherever spirits go. You know the purpose. Everyone who defended that wall knows. The purpose was living, fighting, holding ground long enough for families to escape. The purpose was blood and sacrifice, and 13-year-old boys becoming warriors. In the present day, your present day becomes past, becomes archaeology. The earthwork exists in a strange liminal space. Part of it is preserved, parkland. People jog along the remaining embankment, walk dogs, have picnics. They appreciate the view, but rarely consider the labor. To them, it's an ancient mystery, like Stonehenge, interesting but incomprehensible. Archaeology has learned more. Ground-penetrating radar maps the structure. Aerial photography reveals details invisible from the ground. Archaeologists identify the earthwork as primarily defensive. Note the strategic location, overlooking the river. Find evidence of battle, burned areas, weapons, trauma on skeletal remains. Academic papers debate whether Hopewell people were peaceful traders or territorial warriors. The evidence points to both because humans are complex. Your earthwork becomes case study, appears in textbooks, but the emotional reality, the terror, the courage, the sight of quick squirrel dying beside you, remains absent from scholarly analysis. Sometimes, late at night when the park is empty, security cameras capture strange phenomena. Lights appearing above the earthwork. Nothing dramatic, just small orbs flickering in patterns. Technical glitches, the authorities say. Camera artifacts, but occasionally someone sensitive to such things visits and reports feeling watched, feeling the weight of history pressing down like physical force. They describe standing inside the circle and sensing anger, grief, pride, defiance, emotions soaked into earth so thoroughly that centuries can't wash them out. These sensitive visitors are dismissed as fanciful. The earthwork is earth, nothing more. It has no memory, no spirit. It's notable only for its geometry and age. And yet, on certain nights when the moon is right, when mist rises from the river, the earthwork seems to remember. The geometry holds more than mathematics. It holds the moment when your people chose death over surrender, chose to make their stand on sacred ground. The earthwork is a geometric scar on the landscape, a permanent marker that violence happened here, that courage happened here, that humans once believed geometry could save them. Let's return to the fundamental question. Why did the Hopewell culture build geometric earthworks across Ohio? The academic answers are all partially correct. Astronomical observatory, yes, the alignments prove it. Ceremonial center, yes, the artifacts suggest it. Burial ground, yes, the skeletal remains confirm it. Trading hub, yes, the exotic goods indicate it. But these answers miss something essential. Something that only becomes clear when you understand what happened at your earthwork on that autumn day in Ebite BCE. So, the earthworks were built because geometry is how humans impose order on chaos. When you live in a world without writing, without metal, without central government, geometry becomes language. A perfect circle visible from the sky is a declaration. We were here, we thought deeply, we saw patterns in stars and replicated them in earth. But geometry is also defense, not physical defense. Your battle proved that earthworks can't stop determined warriors. Spiritual defense, cultural defense. The earthwork said, this is our land, these are our ancestors, these geometric patterns define us. Attack this place, and you attack something larger than a village. You attack identity itself. The Northern Alliance understood this. That's why they didn't destroy the earthwork after conquering it. That's why they buried your people with respect inside its geometric embrace. They recognize that earthworks transcend ownership. You can conquer the builders, but you can't conquer geometry. Mathematics belongs to whoever understands it. The earthworks were built as permanent markers, as cultural DNA encoded in landscape. The Hopewell people knew their political structures were fragile, their power temporary, but geometric earthworks, built correctly with astronomical alignments and mathematical precision, those would last, those would testify to future generations. Sophisticated people lived here, thought here, died here. The earthworks are memory, made physical. Their cultural identity that survives even when the culture vanishes. Prayers carved in earth instead of spoken to wind. But there's another answer, simpler and more human. The earthworks were built because work gives meaning. Your people faced existential threats, raids, resource scarcity, political instability. They could have spent their energy on many things. They chose to build geometric monuments. Why? Because building something that outlasts you is how humans cope with mortality. Every basket of earth you carried up that embankment was an act of defiance against death. You knew, even at 12, that you wouldn't live forever. Your father's death taught you that life is fragile. But earthworks aren't fragile, they endure. So you built, everyone built. Quiet Reed, who lost her sons, built to give her grief purpose. Smoke Runner built because geometry connected him to the divine. Broken Bow built because leaders need projects that unify people. Your mother built so you would have a safer future. You built because building was all you could control in an uncontrollable world. The geometric precision mattered because humans crave order. The astronomical alignments mattered because humans need to feel connected to something larger than themselves. But fundamentally, the earthworks were built because humans need to believe their suffering has purpose. Every blister, every aching muscle, every drop of sweat. It all meant something if the earthwork stood. And even when the earthwork failed to save you, even when 500 warriors overwhelmed your defense, the earthwork itself survived. Your body went into it, became part of it. Your courage soaked into its geometry. The earthwork absorbed your sacrifice and transmitted it forward through time. This is why they were built, not for astronomy or ceremony or defense, though those things too. They were built because building permanent things is how temporary beings achieve immortality. The Hopewell people are gone. Their language is forgotten. Their names are lost, but their earthworks remain geometric and eternal, filled with the bones of children who died defending them. Now we must discuss what happened after your death, after the Northern Alliance occupation, after the evacuation. Your mother and sister reached the southern settlements. They were taken in, fed, given shelter. Your sister cried for you every night for a month, then slowly began to heal the way children do. Your mother never healed. She performed daily tasks, raised your sister, even remarried eventually to a widower who needed a wife, but something in her stayed broken. She would stop sometimes in the middle of grinding corn, her hands frozen, her eyes distant, and your sister knew she was thinking about you, about your father, about the earthwork that failed to save her family. Your mother died at 43, not old for Hopewell people, but not young either. Disease took her, fever, chills, cough. As she lay dying, she asked to be buried with a copper bead from your father's necklace. She'd carried one single bead south during the evacuation, hidden in her clothing, the only piece of family she could preserve. Sister obliged. The bead went into the earth with your mother, physical connection to you and your father, family reuniting objects, not bodies. Your sister lived longer. She had 4 children, lost 2 to infant mortality, raised 2 to adulthood. She told them about you, the brave brother who defended the earthwork, who stayed behind so she could escape. The details shifted with each telling. You became older in her memory, braver, larger. By the time she told her grandchildren, you were practically a legendary warrior. They didn't believe her entirely. Everyone's ancestors are heroes in family stories. But she insisted. She described the earthwork's perfect geometry, your father's copper necklace, the sound of the drums calling people to evacuation. Some of those details were true, some were embellished. Memory is imperfect, especially memory of trauma. 5 generations after your death, your direct descendants number over 50 people. None of them know your name. Your sister's grandchildren told stories about the earthwork defense. But by the 4th generation, the stories merged with other tales, became generic accounts of ancestral courage. The specific earthwork, the one you defended, became an earthwork, then earthworks in general. Your identity dissolved into collective memory. This is normal. This is how memory works. The Hopewell culture in its mature phase builds hundreds of earthworks, each requiring thousands of hours of labor. Your earthwork is one of many. The Northern Alliance, after conquering your region, is itself conquered by Western tribes. The power structures shift constantly. Warfare continues. But something changes around Arbex CE. The major earthwork complexes stop being primarily defensive. They become purely ceremonial, larger, more complex, more precisely aligned with astronomical phenomena. The Great Hopewell Road connects earthworks over 60 miles. The Newark earthworks grow to encompass 4 square miles. The geometry becomes more sophisticated, octagons and squares with precise mathematical relationships, circles with diameters measuring exact multiples of some standard unit. These later builders know more mathematics than your people did, but they learned from you. Your earthwork and others like it taught the lesson. Geometry works, not as military defense. That lesson was learned too, but as cultural marker, as spiritual technology, as permanent statement of identity. The later earthworks aren't fortified. They're pure geometry, pure statement. By CE, the Hopewell culture reaches its peak, and it does so by abandoning warfare as primary concern. The earthworks proliferate because they work for what they were always meant to do: create identity, preserve memory, connect humans to cosmos. Your death, your defense, your failure to save your village. All this contributed to civilization learning what earthworks should and shouldn't be. Your sacrifice wasn't wasted. It taught your culture that walls, even geometric walls, cannot stop violence. But geometry survives everything. Then, around Wubaxi, it ends, not suddenly, not catastrophically, but gradually. The earthworks stop being built. The massive ceremonial complexes fall into disuse. The Hopewell culture fragments, disperses, transforms into other cultures. Archaeologists debate why. Climate change stress, depletion of exotic trade goods, internal political collapse, external pressure from expanding neighbors, probably all of these compounding. But here's what matters. The earthworks remain. The cultures that built them vanish, the languages die, the traditions fade, but geometry persists. Your earthwork, now 500 years old, stands unchanged except for erosion's slow work. The later, larger earthworks dominate the landscape. They're too big to ignore, too precisely geometric, to dismiss as natural features. They ensure that even when Hopewell culture ends, knowledge of Hopewell culture doesn't. New peoples settling the valley see these monuments and know someone powerful lived here before. They don't know who. You've been forgotten for 4 centuries already, but they know someone. The earthworks create historical consciousness in peoples who don't have writing. The geometric shapes say, time existed before you. Other humans shaped this land. You are not the first. This is why they were built. The Hopewell builders somehow knew their political culture was temporary. All political cultures are temporary, but they believed correctly that geometric earthworks would outlast them. And in outlasting them, the earthworks would prove the builders existed, prove they were sophisticated, prove they understood mathematics and astronomy, prove they could organize labor and create lasting monuments. You didn't know this at 12 years old, hauling baskets of earth with bleeding hands. You didn't understand that you were building a civilization's obituary. But Smoke Runner knew. The shamans and elders knew. They built earthworks as messages to the future, encoded in the only language guaranteed to survive: geometry. Fast forward to Brung. In the RC century, researchers have mapped over 300 geometric earthworks across Ohio and surrounding regions. They've used LiDAR, ground-penetrating radar, drone photography, and careful excavation. They found your bones and thousands of others. They've carbon dated the structures, analyzed the soil, recreated the building methods. They know the Hopewell culture existed from approximately E-byte BCE to Ubak CE. They know the earthworks required massive organized labor. They know the astronomical alignments are precise. They know warfare occurred. Trauma patterns on skeletons prove it. They know the earthworks didn't provide effective military defense. Archaeological evidence shows many were attacked and overrun. Yet still, the central question remains debated. Why build them? Why such effort for structures that failed their apparent defensive purpose? Researchers have proposed dozens of theories, all partially correct. But here's what modern archaeology often misses. The builders didn't need the earthworks to work as fortresses. They needed them to work as meaning. When you carried your 30th basket of earth up that embankment, you weren't thinking this will stop the Northern Alliance. You knew the mathematics. 50 defenders can't stop 500 attackers, earthwork or not. But you carried the basket anyway, because building something larger than yourself, something that might last beyond your lifetime, is how humans find purpose. The earthwork was a prayer, a monument, a declaration, a burial ground, an observatory, a calendar, a meeting place, and yes, a defense. It was all of these because humans are complex and our monuments reflect that complexity. Modern people want simple answers. The earthworks were for X, but they were for everything. They were for existing loudly in a landscape that will erase you. They were for saying we were here, we thought deeply, we worked together, we understood that circles and squares and octagons means something. Let's return one final time to the question, now understanding the full scope. Why did the Hopewell culture build geometric earthworks across Ohio? Because they needed to, because humans facing mortality and chaos need to create order. Because geometry is the language that transcends culture, time, and even understanding. A circle is a circle whether you're Hopewell in E-byte BCE or American in Dite Artsenling Arter Seat, because the earthworks were never about defending villages. They were about defending identity. Your village burned, your people were scattered, but the earthwork remains. The geometry survived. The Northern Alliance conquered your land, but couldn't conquer your culture's statement of existence. Because the earthworks were where earth met sky, where human met cosmos, where temporary beings created permanent marks. Because building them gave purpose to otherwise unbearable lives. Your hands bled, but you were building something eternal. Because they worked, not as fortresses, that was always secondary, but as cultural transmission devices. The earthworks ensured that Hopewell culture would be remembered, even when all memory was lost. Future peoples would see geometric precision and know someone sophisticated lived here. Because the builders understood that power is temporary but geometry is forever. Political control shifts, languages die, traditions fade, but circles and squares and octagons persist because you needed to leave something behind. Your father died defending your family. You died defending the earthwork. Your mother died holding a copper bead. Your sister died after telling your story to grandchildren who half believed. All of you temporary. All of you forgotten. But the earthwork remembers, not literally. It's earth, not memory, but it preserves the fact of your existence. Somewhere under that geometric embankment, atoms that were once you still remain. The earthworks were built because humans need to believe that effort matters, that sacrifice has meaning, that bleeding hands can create something worthy of the pain, but we're not quite finished. Because there's one more thing the earthworks did, one final purpose we haven't fully addressed. They brought us here, you and me, 12-year-old boy dead, for over 2,000 years. Modern reader looking at words on a screen. The earthworks created this connection. They survived long enough to be discovered, studied, puzzled over. They generated enough mystery to inspire questions. Questions like, why? Who built these? What happened here? And when people ask those questions, when archaeologists dig, and historians research and writers imagine, you live again. Not literally, your consciousness is gone, but your story, even imagined, even reconstructed, even uncertain, exists. Someone in the future thinks about a boy carrying baskets of earth with bleeding hands. Someone wonders about the courage it took to stand against 500 warriors. Someone imagines your final moments, your sister's tears, your mother's grief. The earthworks make you real to people who will never know your name. This is perhaps their truest purpose. Their memory devices that work across millennia. Stone erodes, wood rots, oral tradition fades after a few generations. But massive geometric earthworks, those persist, those demand explanation. Those force future peoples to acknowledge someone was here, someone suffered here, someone believed in something here. The earthworks a bridge across time. They connect you to readers in an age you couldn't imagine, an age of metal tools, written language, flying machines, instant communication across vast distances. None of these things existed in your world. Your people's most advanced technology was copper beads and atlatl spears. Yet here you are, your story being told. The earthworks guaranteed this. They created enough mystery, enough wonder, enough geometric precision to capture attention across 2,000 years. Modern people stand inside the circles and feel something. They don't know it's you they're feeling. They don't know about the battle, the blood, the desperate defense, but they feel the weight of history. They sense that something important happened in these geometric spaces. They're right. You happened. 31 defenders happened. Quiet Reed's grief happened. Smoke Runner's faith happened. The earthworks hold all of this, not in memory. Earth doesn't remember, but in presence. They demand that future peoples acknowledge the past, even when the past is unknowable. This is why the Hopewell culture built geometric earthworks across Ohio. To be remembered. To bridge time. To connect you and me across an impossible gulf of centuries. They work. So when someone asks, why did the Hopewell culture build geometric earthworks across Ohio? The answer is layered, complex, human. They built them for defense, and the defense failed. They built them for ceremony, and the ceremonies ended. They built them for astronomy, and the astronomical knowledge was lost. They built them for trade and politics, and both trade networks and political structures collapsed. But underneath all these practical purposes was something more fundamental. They built them because humans need to make marks that outlast mortality. Your life was 12 years. Your father's was perhaps 35, your mother's 43, your sister's maybe 50. Brick candles, all of them, But the earthwork over 2,000 years and counting, the geometry you helped build has outlasted the Roman Empire, the medieval period, the Renaissance, the Industrial Revolution. It has witnessed more history than any human could contain. The Hopewell builders understood, intuitively if not explicitly, that civilizations are temporary, but monuments can be eternal. They couldn't prevent their culture's decline, they couldn't stop the warfare, the climate pressures, the resource problems, but they could build something that would testify to their existence long after everything else was gone. This is the deepest answer to why. Because we were here, because we thought and felt and worked and suffered, because our lives meant something, because we refused to vanish without trace. The earthworks are defiance against forgetting. Every basket of earth was an act of rebellion against time's erasure. Every bleeding hand said, "I will not be forgotten." The irony is brutal. You were forgotten. Your name, your face, your courage, all lost. But the earthwork remains, and through the earthwork someone knows that a boy like you existed. Fought, bled, died defending geometry he didn't fully understand, but believed in anyway. The earthworks work by failing individually but succeeding collectively. You were forgotten. The Hopewell culture is remembered. Near the end now, let's speak practically about what remains. Your earthwork, the one you defended, exists today as partially preserved archaeological site. Roughly 40% of the original structure survives. The eastern and southern sections are gone, destroyed by farming and development in the Itsen-Babites. The western and northern sections remain, protected now by State Historical Society. On summer days, people visit, they walk the remaining embankment. They read the information signs explaining Hopewell culture. Some are moved, some are indifferent. Some take photos and leave. None of them know about the battle. The archaeology recorded trauma on skeletons, but the specific narrative, who attacked when and why, is lost. The information sign mentions evidence of conflict, but gives no details. Your burial location before excavation was on the northern section. That area still stands. Trees grow there now, their roots digging deep, breaking up whatever remains of you. This is natural. This is right. You're part of the ecosystem now, nutrients feeding oak and maple. Your atoms have dispersed. Some are in trees. Some washed into the river during spring floods. Some remain in the earthwork soil. Some are in animals that ate plants that grew in earth that contained you. You're everywhere and nowhere. The copper beads that were buried with you sit in climate-controlled museum storage, labeled and cataloged. They'll last longer than the earthwork itself, probably. Copper endures, but they're divorced from context, from meaning. They're artifacts, interesting but mute. The earthwork speaks louder, even partially destroyed. Its geometry declares itself. The curve of the remaining embankment describes a circle. The 4 openings, 3 remain. 1 is destroyed, still aligned with cardinal directions. The precision is visible to anyone who looks carefully. This precision is your voice, the only voice you have left. It says, "We knew mathematics. We worked hard. We built something worthy." This is all that remains of 12 years of life, of courage, of sacrifice. But it's more than most people leave. We're almost done. Just one more thing to consider. The earthworks across Ohio, hundreds of them in various states of preservation, form a collective answer to our question. No single earthwork tells the complete story. Your earthwork speaks about defense and failure. The Newark earthworks speak about astronomical knowledge and ceremonial sophistication. Fort Ancient speaks about long-term occupation. Seep Mound speaks about burial practices and social hierarchy. Together, they create a picture of a culture that expressed itself through geometry. a culture that believed the shape of Earth itself could be sacred. Modern people struggle to understand this. We have writing, recorded history, monuments that explicitly state their purpose. But the Hopewell builders left only geometry. They left shapes so perfect that they couldn't be natural, so aligned with sky that they couldn't be random, so numerous that they couldn't be trivial. The earthworks are a language we're still learning to read. Each archaeological discovery adds vocabulary. Ground-penetrating radar shows us sentence structure. Skeletal analysis provides context, but the full meaning may never be recoverable. Too much is lost, too many voices silent, yet the earthworks still communicate. They say, geometry is sacred. Community effort is valuable, astronomical knowledge matters, ancestors must be honored, territory must be marked. Death requires ceremony. Defense has spiritual dimensions. The earthworks are the Hopewell culture's final statement. They're loud enough to cross 2,000 years. They're geometric enough to resist misinterpretation. They say we existed, we mattered, we built this, remember us. So why did the Hopewell culture build geometric earthworks across Ohio? Because you did. Because Quiet Reed did. Because Smoke Runner and Broken Bow and your mother and your sister and thousands of others did. Because humans facing chaos choose to create order. Because temporary beings build permanent things. Because geometry outlasts everything. Because sacred patterns connect earth to sky. Because community effort generates meaning. Because ancestors must be honored. Because identity must be marked. Because courage must be remembered, even when names are forgotten. The earthworks were built for all these reasons, and more. They're complex answers to complex questions about what it means to be human, to be mortal, to want to matter. They succeeded in ways their builders couldn't predict. You thought you were defending a village. You were actually building a civilization's obituary, a geometric testament that would survive long enough to be discovered, studied, and wondered about by peoples you couldn't imagine. The earthworks worked, not as fortresses, that was never their true purpose, but as permanent markers of a culture that chose to express itself through shaped earth and mathematical precision. They're still here. You're not, but through them you persist. A 12-year-old boy with bleeding hands carrying his 30th basket of earth up an embankment, creating something that would outlast empires. This is why the Hopewell culture built geometric earthworks across Ohio, so that someone someday would stand inside those circles and wonder, would ask questions, would imagine the builders, would connect across impossible distances of time. The earthworks are bridges. You're on one side, long dead. We're on the other, briefly alive. The geometry connects us. For a moment, across 2,000 years, your bleeding hands touch our wondering minds. The earthworks made this possible. They were built to be remembered. Against all odds, they succeeded. Your job is done. The earthwork stands. The story is told. Sleep now, the geometry holds, and so we return to comfort, to your warm bed and electric lights, and a world where geometric earthworks are curious archaeological sites, not desperate fortifications. You're safe. The battles are history. The courage is remembered without the terror. The Hopewell people are gone, but their geometric prayers remain, speaking silently across centuries. Their earthworks dot Ohio's landscape, mysterious and precise, asking to be wondered about. Tomorrow, maybe you'll visit one. Walk the ancient embankments, touch earth shaped by bleeding hands 2,000 years ago. Feel the connection across impossible time. But tonight just rest. The geometry holds. The story is complete. Sleep well.